Let's be clear right from the start. If you're searching for a magic shortcut, a secret pill, or a miracle cream to dramatically increase breast size overnight, it doesn't exist. But here, the empowering truth. You can enhance the appearance, lift, firmness, and overall shape of your chest using smart, consistent exercise at home. And for many people, that transformation is exactly what they're really looking for. Your breasts are made of fatty tissue and glandular structures, not muscle. But underneath them lies the pectoral muscle. When you strengthen and develop that muscle, you create a natural lift, improved projection, and a fuller, more sculpted look. This is not about unrealistic promises. This is about understanding your body and working with it, not against it. Now let's talk about what actually works. What if I told you the biggest difference between people who see real physical changes and those who don't has nothing to do with genetics, expensive equipment, or even time? It comes down to one simple thing: consistency, not perfection, not intensity. Just showing up again and again, even on the days when you don't feel like it. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear: doing a perfect workout once in a while won't change your body. But doing a small, imperfect routine every single day absolutely will. That's how your body works. It adapts to repetition, not occasional effort. Every time you engage your chest muscles, even for just a few minutes, you're sending a signal to your body. Build, strengthen, improve. And over time, those signals add up. Think about this. What seems more powerful? Doing 50 push-ups once a week or doing 10 push-ups every day? Most people chase intensity because it feels productive in the moment. But real transformation comes from frequency. Your muscles don't grow from one hard session. They grow from repeated stimulation over days and weeks. And here, where it gets even more interesting, consistency builds momentum. The first few days feel hard, maybe even frustrating. You might not see any visible changes, and that can make you question whether it's even working. But beneath the surface, your body is already adapting. Muscles are activating better. Strength is improving. Your posture starts to shift slightly. These are the invisible wins most people ignore, and that's why they quit too early. Now imagine this: you commit to just 10-15 minutes a day. No pressure to be perfect. No extreme routines. Just simple, focused exercises done regularly. Over 1 week, it may not feel like much, but over a month, that's hundreds of repetitions. Over 2 months, that's a completely different level of muscle engagement and strength. Another powerful shift happens mentally. When you stay consistent, you start identifying as someone who follows through. You stop negotiating with yourself. You don't ask, "Should I do it today?" You just do it. That identity change is what separates temporary effort from lasting transformation. And let's break a common myth. You don't need motivation to be consistent. In fact, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Consistency is built through discipline, choosing to act regardless of how you feel. Some days you'll feel energized. Other days you won't. But if you keep showing up anyway, that's when your body truly begins to change. Your body is always listening to what you do repeatedly. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but when it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it stops feeling like effort. It becomes part of who you are. What if the real reason you're not seeing results is because you don't know what asterisk to do, but because you're still waiting instead of doing? It's easy to fall into the trap of searching for the perfect routine, the perfect time, or the perfect conditions. But while you're waiting, nothing changes. Your body doesn't respond to intention, it responds to action. There's a powerful shift that happens the moment you stop wishing and start lifting. The moment you get down for that first push-up, pick up those weights, or even press your palms together with intention, you move from passive thinking into active transformation. That's where results begin, not in your thoughts, but in your movements. Let's break this down. Wishing feels productive. It gives you a sense that you're planning or preparing. But in reality, it often becomes a form of delay. You tell yourself things like, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I need more time," or "I'll begin when I feel ready." And that moment rarely comes. Meanwhile, someone else with less knowledge but more action is already seeing results. Your muscles don't understand hesitation. They only understand tension and repetition. Every time you perform a chest-focused movement, Whether it's a push-up, chest press, or fly, you are literally creating change beneath the surface. Tiny muscle fibers are being challenged, repaired, and strengthened. That's the science of progress. It's not dramatic, it's not instant, but it's real. And here's something most people underestimate. You don't need a perfect setup to start lifting. No gym, no problem, no fancy equipment. Doesn't matter, your body weight is enough. A pair of water bottles can become weights. A resistance band can replace machines. The barrier is not your environment, it's your hesitation. Now imagine this. Instead of spending 30 minutes thinking about whether you should work out, you spend 10 minutes actually doing it. Which one moves you forward? Which one brings you closer to your goal? Action, even in small amounts, compounds over time. Thinking does not. There's also a psychological power in lifting that goes beyond physical results. Every time you complete a set, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you can follow through, that you can push past resistance, not just physically, but mentally. That builds confidence, not the kind that comes from appearance, but the kind that comes from discipline and self-trust. And let's be honest, the beginning is the hardest part. That first rep feels uncomfortable. Your arms might shake, your form might not be perfect. But that's exactly where growth lives, not in comfort, but in effort. Every rep you do is a step away from where you are now and a step toward where you want to be. Waiting keeps you stuck in the same place. Lifting, even imperfectly, moves you forward. What if the real transformation you're chasing doesn't start in the mirror, but in your mind? Most people believe confidence comes asterisk after they see physical results, after the body changes, after the compliments, after the visible proof. But that belief keeps you stuck, constantly waiting for something external to give you permission to feel good about yourself. Here's the shift. Confidence actually begins the moment you decide to take action, long before any physical change becomes noticeable. The very act of committing to yourself, of saying, "I'm going to show up, no matter what," starts to rewire how you see yourself. Think about it. When you follow through on your workouts, even the small ones, you're building something much deeper than muscle. You're building trust with yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of real confidence. It's not about how you look, it's about knowing that when you say you'll do something, you actually do it. In the beginning, the mirror might not reflect much change. That's where most people get discouraged. They look for immediate results, don't see them, and assume nothing is happening. But something is asterisk happening, just not in the way they expected. Your strength is improving. Your endurance is increasing. Your posture is shifting. And most importantly, your mindset is evolving. There's a quiet confidence that starts to grow when you consistently show up. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't rely on validation. It's internal. You start carrying yourself differently, standing a little taller, moving with more intention. Even the way you walk into a room begins to change, not because your body is dramatically different yet, but because your identity is. And here, where it gets powerful, once that internal confidence starts building, it fuels your consistency. You're no longer working out just to change how you look, you're doing it because it aligns with who you're becoming. That shift turns exercise from a chore into a choice, from something you have to do into something you want to do. Many people quit too early because they're chasing visible results instead of recognizing internal progress. They ignore the fact that they're stronger than last week, more disciplined than before, more committed than they've ever been. Those are real wins, and they matter more than any temporary visual change. Now imagine continuing on that path. Day after day, you show up. Not perfectly, but consistently. That identity starts to solidify. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does asterisk. That's when confidence becomes unshakable because it's no longer tied to outcomes, it's tied to actions. And ironically, once you stop chasing confidence through appearance and start building it through consistency, the physical results begin to follow naturally. What if you could instantly look more confident, more lifted, and more put together without doing a single workout? No equipment, no time investment, no waiting for results. It sounds too simple, almost unrealistic, but it's real, and most people completely ignore it. The way you hold your body right now is either working for you or against you. Take a second and think about this. How are you sitting or standing as you read this? Are your shoulders slightly rounded forward? Is your head leaning down? Is your chest collapsed inward? If so, you're not alone. This has become the default posture for many people, especially with long hours on phones and computers. But here, the problem, that position automatically makes your chest appear smaller, less lifted, and less defined. Now flip that for a moment. Roll your shoulders back. Lift your chest slightly. Align your head over your spine. Without changing anything else about your body, notice how different you look and, more importantly, how different you feel. That's the power of posture. It can transform your appearance in seconds. But this isn't just about looks. Posture is deeply connected to muscle engagement. When you stand or sit upright, your chest muscles are naturally more activated. Your back muscles are supporting you. Your core is engaged. Over time, this creates a more balanced and stronger upper body. On the other hand, poor posture keeps your chest muscles underused and your back muscles weak, reinforcing that slouched appearance. Here, where it gets even more interesting, your brain responds to posture. When you stand tall, your body sends signals of confidence and control. Studies have shown that posture can influence mood, energy levels, and even how others perceive you. So when you correct your posture, you're not just changing your physical appearance, you're shifting your entire presence. Now imagine combining good posture with consistent chest exercises. That's where the real transformation happens. Exercises build the muscle, and posture displays it. Without good posture, even strong muscles can remain hidden. But with proper alignment, everything you've worked on becomes more visible. And let's address something important. Posture is a habit. You don't fix it once and forget about it. It requires awareness throughout the day. Sitting, standing, walking, every moment is an opportunity to either reinforce good posture or fall back into old patterns. That's why small reminders can make a big difference. Adjust your shoulders, lift your chest, reset your alignment. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, even unnatural. That's because your body has adapted to poor positioning over time. But the more you practice correct posture, the more natural it becomes. Your muscles adapt, your body adjusts, and eventually, standing tall becomes effortless rather than forced. And here's the overlooked advantage. Posture gives you immediate results while you're working toward long-term changes. You don't have to wait weeks or months to see a difference. The moment you correct your alignment, you elevate your appearance and your confidence simultaneously. What if the reason you feel stuck isn't because you're doing too little, but because you're expecting too much too soon? Perfection is one of the most dangerous traps when it comes to progress. It sounds positive, even admirable, but in reality, it often leads to frustration, inconsistency, and eventually giving up. Most people start with high expectations. They want perfect form, perfect routines, perfect results, all from day one. And the moment something doesn't go exactly as planned, they feel like they've failed. Maybe the workout felt hard. Maybe the form wasn't ideal. Maybe they missed a day. And suddenly, that small imperfection becomes an excuse to stop altogether. Here's the truth. Progress doesn't come from perfection. It comes from repetition, adjustment, and persistence. Your first workout isn't supposed to be perfect. Your form might feel awkward. Your muscles might shake. You might not even complete all the reps you planned. That's not failure, that's the beginning of adaptation. Think about any skill you've ever learned. Whether it's writing, speaking, or even walking as a child, it didn't start perfectly. It improved through trial, error, and consistency. Your body works the same way. Every imperfect rep is still a step forward because it's teaching your muscles how to respond. And here's something powerful to understand. Perfection slows you down, but progress speeds you up. When you allow yourself to be imperfect, you remove the pressure that often leads to quitting. You give yourself permission to learn, to adjust, and to keep going even when things aren't ideal. Now imagine this. Instead of aiming for a flawless 30-minute workout, you commit to doing what you can, even if it's just 10 minutes. Even if your push-ups aren't perfect. Even if you need to take breaks. That approach keeps you consistent, and consistency is what creates results over time. Another important shift is focusing on improvement rather than comparison. If today you can do 5 push-ups and next week you can do 7, that's progress. It may seem small, but those small improvements compound. Over time, they turn into strength, endurance, and visible change. Perfection also creates an all-or-nothing mindset. You either do everything right, or you feel like there's no point. But progress lives in the middle. It lives in showing up on days when you don't feel your best. It lives in doing a shorter workout instead of skipping entirely. It lives in choosing effort over excuses. And let's be honest, your body doesn't need perfect effort to change. It just needs consistent stimulation. It responds to what you do repeatedly, not how perfectly you do it. Every time you move, every time you engage your muscles, you're creating an opportunity for growth. The people who succeed aren't the ones who do everything perfectly. They're the ones who keep going despite imperfections. They adjust, they learn, and they stay committed even when the process feels slow or messy. What if the biggest thing standing between you and real change isn't lack of knowledge, lack of time, or even lack of ability, but a single word? Later. It sounds harmless, flexible, safe. But later is one of the most powerful forms of delay, and the longer you rely on it, the further you drift from the results you actually want. Think about how many times you've said it. I'll start tomorrow. I'll begin next week. I'll do it when I feel ready. It feels like a plan, but in reality, it's a pattern. And that pattern keeps repeating itself because there's always a reason to wait. You're too tired today, too busy, not in the mood, and tomorrow, it brings the same excuses, just in a different form. Here's the truth most people avoid. You will never feel completely ready. Motivation doesn't arrive first, action does. The idea that you need to feel inspired before you start is what keeps you stuck. The people who see real progress aren't the ones who wait for the perfect moment. They're the ones who act despite not feeling ready. Now imagine this. Instead of waiting for the right time, you decide that this asterisk moment is enough. No preparation. No overthinking. You drop down and do a few push-ups. You grab whatever weight you have nearby. You engage your muscles, even for just a few minutes. That small action might seem insignificant, but it breaks the cycle of delay. And that's where momentum begins. Because once you start, something shifts. The resistance you felt before fades slightly. Your body warms up. Your focus sharpens. What felt difficult to begin suddenly feels manageable to continue. Starting is the hardest part, not the workout itself. There's also a psychological effect happening here. Every time you choose action over delay, you weaken the habit of procrastination. You teach your brain that you don't wait, you move. That identity shift is powerful. You stop being someone who plans and postpones, and you become someone who acts immediately. And let's talk about time, because that's one of the most common excuses. You don't need an hour. You don't need a perfect schedule. You don't need ideal conditions. You need a decision. 10 minutes of focused effort today is infinitely more valuable than an hour you keep postponing. Now think ahead. One day from now, you can either be at the same starting point or one step ahead. 1 week from now, those small daily actions could already be building strength and confidence. 1 month from now, the difference becomes visible. But it all depends on what you do today, not what you plan for tomorrow. The cost of waiting is invisible at first. Nothing seems to change. But over time, that delay adds up. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly you realize you've been stuck in the same place, not because you couldn't change, but because you didn't start. Action creates clarity. Action creates progress. Action creates results. And it always begins with a single decision to stop waiting and start moving right now.